Alright, I hope everybody's had a great Thanksgiving break. Time to get ready for our Unit 4 test. Number 1 has two equations. We've got one equation is going to be the skeet, the disc, and the second equation is going to be the firing of the gun, the bullet. And so first off, for the disc, we've got 3 points. It starts at 0, 2. And the next point says after 2 seconds, it's 46 meters off the ground. And then my last one is 6, 14. And so using those 3 points, I can find the equation of that parabola using stat, edit, put in those points, so 0, 2, and 6, 2, 46, 14, and stat, go over to the quad reg, and there's my equation right there. And so y equals negative 5x squared plus 32x plus 2. And so that's the skeet. And next off for the bullet, Justin fires his gun about 1 meter off the ground, so plus 1, and travels at a rate of, that's the slope, 31.5 meters per second, so 31.5x. There's my two equations. I need to find where they intersect. And so I've got in my y equals negative 5x squared plus 32x plus 2. And then I'll go ahead and put it in the same order that I had on my paper, plus 1 on the back. And we'll graph these. Let's see, I'll start off at a normal window, what it would look like. So there's what it looks like. I don't need to go any further than this. I can see this is where the disc would hit the ground, had it not ever been hit by the gun. But I'm going to change my window. I don't need any negative time, so I'm going to change that to 0. I will change this though. Let's just go up to 6. My Y min I don't need below the ground. My Y max though, highest point I have is 46. So I'll go a little bit above 46 and go up to 50. Now let's see what this looks like. And so there's the disc, and there's my intersection is going to be real quick. And so I'll go second, trace 5, enter, enter, enter. And there it is right there. And the question says, how long will it take for the bullet to hit the skeet and how high off the ground? And so my X will be the time, 0.5 seconds. And the Y will be the height, 16.75 meters. Alright, number 2. Got a baseball being thrown out a window, and they're testing their accuracy with paintball guns, seeing if they can hit it. There's the two equations. It's already ready. We just need to know, will the paintball hit the baseball? If so, when will it hit it and at what height? And so we'll go back, negative 5x squared plus 20x plus 15 and 3x plus 3. On this one, I'm going to go ahead and make a guesstimate on my window. My X min, again, I don't need any negative time. X max, let's change it to 10 and see what that does. Y min, I don't need below the ground. And I don't know a highest point. I know that the window is 15 meters above and it's being tossed upwards, and so I'll change it to 30 and we'll see what we can see. Alright, there we go. So that's where it's going to hit on its descent down there. And so, yes, it is going to hit. When will the paintball hit the baseball? 4. Give me a unit of time. Yep, T is seconds. 4 seconds. And at what height is in meters? And so 15 meters. Alright, number 3 and number 4, even though they look different, they are the same equations. We'll just do 3 and we won't do 4. They're both in y equals. And so I could either solve it graphically or algebraically. We just did the previous one graphically, so I'll do this one algebraically. They're both y equals, so I'm going to set these equal to each other. X squared plus 2x plus 4 equals x plus 1. Subtract x over. And those are gone. That's just positive x. Subtract 1. And it's plus 3. And then I would see if I can factor it, but I can't think of anything that multiplies to 3 and adds to 1. And so we're going to move into old reliable, the quadratic formula, negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times my a of 1. And I'll start with that discriminant, the part underneath the square root. So 1 minus 4 times 1 times 3 gets negative 11. And this right here is imaginary. And so I don't have to find the imaginary solutions. This one doesn't hit. And so this answer is no solution. The two graphs never hit each other. Alright, going on number 5. It gives us 3 points, so just like number 1, we just got to find the equation. And so I'm going to go into Stat, Edit. I'm going to put in my x's in L1, so negative 4, 2, 8. Put in my y's, negative 65, negative 17, and negative 185. Stat, and go to Quadreg. Y equals negative 3x squared plus 2x minus 9. Alright, going on to the next one, exact same process. It gives us 3 points. I'm going to go ahead and put it into my table. So negative 1, 3, 8, 47, 91, 551. And Stat, Quadreg. So y equals 9x squared minus 7x plus 31. Alright, number 7, change the following equation from standard to vertex form. This is that process of completing the square. You could also find the vertex and then change it, and I'll show you that way as well. But first off, we'll do completing the square over on this side. Alright, so with completing the square, I'm going to group the first two and kick out that third item. Plus 21 goes on the outside. I always want this to be 1x squared, and so I'm going to take out the 2 from the parentheses. There we go. And then we do half of b in squared. So half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4, so add 4 here. But it's not actually 4, it's actually 8 because of that 2 in front. And so I'm going to subtract 8 on the outside. And so y is equal to 2. This factors the x plus 2 squared. And then 21 minus 8 is 13. And so there it is from standard form to vertex form. I can see from vertex form that this goes left 2, up 13, and we've got a vertical stretch by 2. You could also do it the other way, finding the vertex. And so if I were to find the vertex, that's the negative b over 2a. That's what my x is. And so it's negative 8 over 4, which equals negative 2. So that's the x part. And then I plug it in to find my y. And so in my calculator, I'll just negative 2 squared. And put in just like this, plus 8 times negative 2 plus 21, and I get 13 for my y. So knowing this, I know it's going to be x plus 2, because we're going left 2 squared, up 13, but then we've got to take care of this 2 in front, so we'll just put it right in front right there, and there it is as well. Either one's going to yield the same answer. It doesn't matter which way you choose. Just make sure you know how to find the vertex from standard form. Number 8, it's the same process. I'll go ahead and do the completing the square. I feel like that may be a little bit faster since my a is already 1. And so I'm going to group my first 2 items, kicking out the third item. I'm going to do half of 4 and square it, so I'm going to add 4 and subtract 4 on the outside. Keeping my equation equal, and then it's x plus 2 squared. Subtract 4 and we get plus 8. So it goes left 2 and up 8. Alright, number 9, vertex form and standard form. First off, I know this goes to the right. This is my directrix, this is my vertex, and this is my focus. And so my vertex is 1, 2, 3, negative 3, 1, 2. And my c value is 2, because it goes 2 units from the vertex. Alright, so my vertex form is going to be x, and opposite negative 3 is plus 3 equals, on bottom is 1 over 4 times c, so 1 over 4 times 2 is 8, and then y minus 2 squared. That's my vertex form. Now to find standard form, I'm going to start off by foiling this. So I'll keep everything else the same. And so y minus 2 and y minus 2 becomes y squared minus 2y plus 4. And so that is y squared minus 4y plus 4. And then we're going to distribute this 1/8 to everything inside. So still x plus 3 equals 1/8 y squared minus, that becomes 4/8, which is 1/2 y, plus 4/8, which is 1/2. Then the last thing, we're going to subtract this 3 over, getting the x all by itself. So I'll go ahead and write my standard form up here. X equals, that's still the same, 1/8 y squared minus 1/2 y. But then when I take positive 1/2 and subtract 3, 3 is the same thing as 6/2. And so 6/2 minus 1/2, that's going to be a negative 5/2. And if you struggle with fractions, you can put it in your calculator, you're going to get the same thing. And so this is my vertex form, and this is my standard form. Alright, next one, number 10. On number 10, we're going to graph this equation. And so I know it's y equals, it's negative, so it's going to open down. The vertex is going to be 3, negative 2. My c value, 8 divided by 4 is 2, so we're going to go down to 1, 2, that's my focus, up to 1, 2, that's my directrix. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. Because this is 2 times c units over. And so there's my parabola. And now my focus is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, negative 4. And my directrix, my y is always 0. 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0. It's always y equals 0. Alright, on number 11. I'm going to plug in each of these points to see which one or ones are true. So my first one is going to be negative 8 is less than or equal to. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in 2 for my x's. And so negative 3, I'm going to move down here. Alright, so negative 3, 2 squared plus 2 times 2 minus 1 is equal to negative 9. Negative 8 is less than or equal to negative 9. That's not true. Next one, negative 7 is less than or equal to. We're plugging in 0. I don't need a calculator on this. That's 0, 0. That's negative 1. Negative 7 is less than or equal to negative 1. Check. So B is true. Next one, negative 2 is less than or equal to. I need to plug in 1. And so negative 3, 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 1 gets negative 2. Let negative 2 is less than or equal to negative 2. Again, that's true. And last one, negative 33 is less than or equal to. We're going to plug in negative 3. And make sure when you put in your calculator, you put in the parentheses the negative 3, the squared on the outside, so that you can get the correct answer. Negative 33 is less than or equal to negative 34. Not true. So my correct answers are B and C. We're going to graph the inequality. I know we're going to shade above, and I know it's going to be dotted. I also know my vertex is negative b over 2a. There is no b, so it's 0. And when I plug in 0, it's negative 3. So 1, 2, 3, there's my vertex. This one's opening down because of that negative, and everything else is the same. So down, left 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 2, down 4, left 2, down 4, and we're making a dotted parabola. And we're going to shade above. So I'm going to go to my vertex and go above, and so above lands everything outside my dotted parabola. So anything in the shaded region are solutions to this inequality. Number 13, just as a reminder, anytime you have I squared is equal to negative 1. And so we're going to distribute the 4i, so that's 20i minus 8i squared distribute the negative 3, minus 18, minus 3i, and minus 12 at the end. This I squared, remember, is negative 1, so that makes this 20i plus 8 minus 18 minus 3i minus 12. Now we're going to do our real first. So we got positive 8, negative 18, and negative 12. This becomes negative 10, negative 22. 20 minus 3 is 17i, and so that is my answer on 13. Alright, last page. Number 14, we're going to solve, and so once again, there's nothing I can GCF, and so next step would be to see if I can factor it. 2 times 6 is 12, negative 3 on the bottom, multiplies the 12, adds negative 3. Can't think of anything. Alright. So I'm going to have to go to old reliable and do the quadratic. So 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times 2 times 6 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. I'll start off with that discriminant, the part underneath the square root. 9 minus 4 times 2 times 6. And then the square root of negative 39, I'd come out to the side, and I know that's 3 and 13. That doesn't go any further, so there's no pairs. But I know there's a negative under the square root, so I can pull out the I, the imaginary number. And that's my final answer. That's as far as I can take it. Alright, number 15, once again, I'm going to see if I can factor it. So we've got 6 and negative 4. And so 3 and 2, 6 and 1. Again, it doesn't work. And so I've got 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times 3 times 2. All over 2 times 3 is 6. Once again, the part underneath, 16 minus 4 times 3 times 2 is negative 8. And so once again, I know I'm going to pull out I, but I'm going to come out to the side. I know that's 4 and 2, which is also 2 and 2. There's my pairs. And so that's going to be 4 plus or minus 2i square root of 2. This 2 right here goes back underneath all over 6. And then last thing, simplify these three numbers. And so I'll come out over here. And so dividing by 2, it becomes 2 plus or minus 1i square root of 2 over 3. And that's my final answer. 16, what types of solutions could have been rephrased? How many solutions can a system of a linear and quadratic equation have? Linear is a line, quadratic is a U. They could hit 0 times, the line being under it. They could hit 1 time, or they could hit 2 times. Those are my answers, 0, 1, or 2. Given the graph below, how many solutions? This is my zeros, my roots, my solutions, my x-intercepts. There's 1, there's 2, there are 2 solutions. And that completes it. Hope everybody does well on this test.